You're listening to Strange by Nature, your guide to the strange, weird, unbelievable, and improbable wonders of the natural world.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here today. I am Kirk Mona, and I am joined today by Rachel Ginza and Victoria Thompson. We are all professional naturalists who together have scoured the world for weird and wonderful wonders just to please your mammalian brain's desire for novelty. Isn't that nice? Let's do this.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome back.
Hi.
It is
Hey.
It is episode 99.
This is crazy.
Oh my gosh. We are surrounded
By-
right now in the studio with
They're amazing.
99
everywhere.
red balloons. Gorgeous.
Are they latex balloons?
Is that a problem?
Are you allergic to latex?
I'm allergic to latex.
They're
Okay,
mylar.
Rachel, do not touch. Well, the ones on this side of the room are all mylar, and these ones are all latex. So you probably shouldn't touch anything in here.
I'm not going to touch anything that's in here.
Don't breathe.
Okay.
Perfect.
As long as I
Happy
don't
99th.
like breathe
Episode
in
100.
Any of them. Woohoo! 99, 100.
Episode 100 is coming up.
Oh,
I'm very excited for that one, but I'm excited for this one as well.
Yeah. Well, my topic is a big topic, so
Ooh,
shall I get
okay.
started?
yes.
Go for it.
Yeah. You may have seen recently in the news that Mauna Loa on the Big Island of Hawaii recently started erupting for the first time since 1984.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want this to sound flippant, because many people have been killed by Hawaiian volcanoes in previous centuries.
Right.
And many people have had houses and property destroyed by lava flows, even in more recent years.
Right.
That being said, though, the Hawaiian eruptions are probably the most fun volcanic eruptions in the world.
They're very, very cool.
Yeah, for a number of reasons.
As long as your
including-
house is not in the way, right? Yeah.
There's that
Absolutely.
beautiful, right, exactly. There's that beautiful glowing red lava that flows across the landscape. Sometimes there's the dramatic spectacle of the lava hitting the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
It's the popularity and accessibility of the islands themselves, kind of as tourist destinations. And, the fact that it is, these days at least, pretty rare that somebody gets killed. So it's like the fun kind of volcanic eruption.
That's a real nice bonus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Still, volcanoes still nothing to mess around with, and they deserve respect and caution at all times. The reason that lava is so pretty and runs in rivers along the ground instead of producing like earth-shaking blasts like Krakatoa or Mount St. Helens.
Sure.
Mhm.
We've talked about a few of those. Yeah.
Yes. These are shield volcanoes, which means that they're made of basalt lava, which is a relatively thin and runny lava, rather than a thick and goopy lava like they have at those other volcanoes that I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And because the lava is thin and runs easily, it spreads out a lot. So shield volcanoes tend to be very wide and broad with gentle slopes, rather than the kind of typical volcano shape that we think of.
The
like
cone.
Yeah, the cone, like Mount Fuji.
Yeah.
like
We've talked
very-
about like stratovolcanoes.
stratovolcanoes. That's the other kind. Anyway, this news from Hawaii got me thinking about mountains and the fact that Mauna Loa is a really, really big mountain. In fact, it is the most massive mountain on Earth, and its neighbor on the Big Island, Mauna Kea, is the tallest mountain on Earth if you measure it from its base on the seafloor.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I was about to say,
Yeah.
I'm pretty
That's
sure
one of my-
Everest is in there, but
No, it's one of my favorite nature facts.
Yes.
That Everest is not the biggest mountain on Earth. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, so cool.
Depending how you
Not
measure
even
it.
close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you look at the entire height of the mountain from its base, Mount Everest is not the tallest mountain on Earth because it is part of a continent. Its base is considered sea level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so Mount Everest's height above sea level is 8,849 meters at latest measurement. And Mauna Kea's height above its base on the seafloor is 9,330 meters. So that's almost 500 meters higher than Everest. That's, that's pretty big. Mauna Loa is only a little shorter than Mauna Kea. It's about like 150 meters shorter.
Mm-hmm.
But it is, as I mentioned before, extremely massive. It has long been considered the most massive mountain or volcano on Earth. The
Crazy.
estimated volume that they estimated this with, I guess, satellites is 75,000 cubic kilometers, which is it's a number that is kind of meaningless to most people's brains. And it covers it covers an area of 5,100 square kilometers.
That's insane.
It's big.
It's big.
That's really big.
But wait. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, Mauna Loa could be considered way, way higher than Mauna Kea if you take into account how much the volcano is actually depressing the seafloor underneath it.
Oh, interesting.
So
okay.
let me talk you through this. To understand this, you have to think
All right.
think about the shape of the mountain. So above its base on the seafloor, it makes a giant shallow cone shape.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, the mass of the mountain continues down below that in an inverted cone shape. So
Sure.
altogether, the mountain's kind of like a very wide diamond shape.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Do you let me clarify though? Like, if you were looking at a drawing of this from the side, like a planar view or whatever, if you're looking at it from the side, and would you actually see a dip in the seafloor as you get closer to the mountain, or is this just sort of it's depressing the material around it, but you wouldn't actually see that? You know what I mean?
I don't think like if you were approaching it on the seafloor, you would necessarily see the dip just because of how wide it is.
Okay.
Gotcha.
But
The seafloor kind of sinks.
the seafloor is underneath it. They have measured it with
Gotcha.
Okay.
waves, sonar, whatever.
Ah.
I'm now blanking on the the
sonar.
name of the technology they use. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they can tell because the seafloor itself has a different profile than the mantle underneath it and the mountain above it, so they can tell where stuff starts and stops. So if you take into account the amount of seafloor that's displaced by the gigantic mass of this mountain, Mauna Loa is actually about 17,170 meters high. So that's almost twice its official height above the seafloor.
What? Whoa! What?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's like almost as much of it below the seafloor as there.
Okay, so that's counting like the mass of this, rocky intrusion that has come up from underneath. Like I mean, where my question is, where do you stop? I mean, do you include the magma that it's connected to way down in the mantle? Like, I mean, you could, and then it's even bigger.
I mean, I guess, but no, it's debatable whether this is a legitimate measurement. But I think if you think about the seafloor as being kind of imagine it being flat, although it's not really flat, and then the mountain comes and it just dips down because it's being pushed down. If you're,
I guess it is, if this is all material that has come up,
yes,
and then the weight has pushed it all back down, I can see how that would count. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
absolutely astounding.
That is, and it is very impressive. But now I am going to talk about a really big volcano.
We just were.
Are we leaving the planet?
Yes, getting to this volcano is a little more involved than going to Hawaii because this one's on Mars.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
Saw that coming.
Yeah. I am talking about, of course, Olympus Mons, which is the solar system's monster volcano.
It's huge. That thing is crazy.
It is. It's so big.
It's bigger than you think, Rachel. Hold on.
It is also a shield volcano, and it rises almost 22 kilometers, so that's 21,900 meters above the Martian surface. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is so high that you can consider it to be scraping the top of Mars's atmosphere, which is a lot thinner than Earth's. The atmospheric pressure at the top of the mountain is only 12% of the Martian surface pressure, compared to...
Which isn't much to start with.
No. Compared to Everest, which has pressure of 32% of pressure at sea level. But even more than its height, which is, again, impressive, Olympus Mons is hugely wide. It covers an area of 300,000 square kilometers, which is about the area of the state of Arizona.
Okay.
It's
Sure.
like it's so ridiculous. You think okay, something could be
it's
bigger
big.
than
It's
just
big.
Arizona.
It's Arizona.
But like think about the biggest volcanoes we have. They're not the size of Arizona.
Right.
No,
Like that's just ridiculous.
they're Hawaii, which is
Yep.
oh my god.
Not as big as Arizona.
Yeah. Not
The
as much.
caldera. The caldera alone is 80 kilometers across. That's about 50 miles.
Sure. Why not?
And
You're that big. Why not?
basically, this mountain sticks out like a giant nipple from the surface of Mars.
It's a lovely visual.
the comparison is apt. If you just
Yeah.
go and
It is.
Google some images of the planet with Olympus Mons, like it's just there.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, we're only a few minutes in. And I think we already have the episode title. Olympus Mons, Mars's nipple,
Oh, beautiful.
or the nipple of Mars.
Ugh. I wonder if that'll. Ooh, I like Nipple of Mars. That's good. I wonder if we'll get censored for that.
Censored for that?
Mhm.
Possibly.
We're gonna find out, I think.
Because it's so large, though, the average slope of its sides is only about 5%. Although, that's the average slope. So the central portion is
Right.
much steeper.
Mm-hmm.
But also, if you were standing on the surface of Mars, you would not be able to see the whole profile of the volcano because it's so large. And also, Mars is a bit smaller than Earth, so the curvature is more.
Mm-hmm.
Well, right. Picture standing in the middle of Arizona and seeing both borders at once.
Yeah.
No,
Like, nope,
Nope.
not gonna happen.
not happening. No.
And the reason it's so
awesome.
large, it actually, from what we understand about Martian geology, it forms pretty similarly to a mountain like Mauna Loa. So it's a shield volcano, as
Okay.
I mentioned. They think it's like the composition is similar, basalt type of stuff. And they think it was formed much like the Hawaiian Islands by a hotspot, mantle plume that's poking up. But Mars never really got plate tectonics going. So
Right.
where the Hawaiian Islands were formed
Move.
by the tectonic plate moving across the hot spot, and so a different spot is a mountain forms in a different spot over time. That didn't happen, so it's just one really, really, really big mountain.
Yeah,
of
it just
basalt.
keeps going.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And I have to say, this is I guess a bookmark for some other time, because when I was researching this episode, I was shocked to learn that Olympus Mons is not necessarily considered the largest mountain in the solar system.
What?
Dun dun
Dun,
dun.
dun, dun.
To be continued.
To be continued.
So
Awesome.
those are my monster mountains that I wanted to talk about this time.
Sure.
Yeah. And we're going to take a little break. When we come back, Kirk will have something else for us.
Hey everybody, before we get back to the show, want to say a little thank you to all of our patrons. We're rounding out the year here, and looking at all of our expenses and budget and stuff for the year, we really could not do it without you. Our patrons are really those people that make this show possible. Shout out to our newest patron, by the way. We have...
Mary.
Thanks, Mary.
Yay. Thanks,
Yes,
Mary.
thank you, Mary. We appreciate you becoming a patron. And, you too listening, yes, you can join if you go to patreon.com/strangebynature. Back to the show. Welcome back. Rachel,
Yes.
you are a huge Harry Potter nerd, correct?
Yes. I have a Harry Potter tattoo.
I know. Do you remember the name of the first book?
So it's debated because everywhere else it's the Philosopher's Stone, but in the United States it's the Sorcerer's Stone.
Harry Potter and the
Well
Sorcerer's
done.
Stone.
You're right.
Well done, Rachel. I knew you would know that. Yes, indeed. In the U.S., we do call it Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, but everywhere else it was Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Apparently, U.S. publishers thought kids wouldn't read a book with the word philosopher in the title.
They didn't think that we were smart enough for that. Like we wouldn't get it or something. It's whatever.
Amazing. Well, so the Philosopher's Stone is an idea that Rowling borrowed from real-life alchemists. There's actually a lot of stuff that she borrowed in the book from sort of real-life things. And much like in the book, the stone has the power to prolong life, supposedly, if you could create it. But one of the better-known properties of the Philosopher's Stone was to turn any base metal into gold. And this transformation was known as transmutation. And transmutation of gold was one of the main driving quests of alchemy. And the quest for the creation of the Philosopher's Stone was known as the magnum opus, or the great work. Spoiler alert, didn't work. To be clear, alchemists were never successful at doing this. But alchemy did eventually give birth to the science of chemistry. The words are actually linguistically related. And we've learned a lot about metals since then. And alchemists thought that because they could destroy metals, they could possibly create them as well, which wasn't so far-fetched an idea at the time.
It's a thought.
It's a thought. The problem is they had really no understanding of what an element really was, and they had no understanding of like atomic theory to understand really why different elements are what they are. So we now know that elements are distinct from other elements because of the number of protons and neutrons that make them up. It gets kind of nerdy, but it's actually pretty simple. Like if you remember the periodic table of elements from school, gold is number 79 on there because it has 79 protons.
Protons, yep.
Yeah, and if it didn't, it wouldn't be gold anymore, right?
Right.
So if you actually were to take one of those protons away, you'd have 78 and you'd have platinum. So it's really just, a difference of a proton there. And it becomes pretty clear why the alchemists couldn't make gold, right? The engagement ring I helped design for my wife happens to be platinum, but no matter what I do to it in an attempt to make it gold, I have no way of adding even a single proton to every atom in her ring to sort of magically turn it into gold.
Yeah, that'd be pretty
my
cool,
ring
though.
that I wear,
Yeah.
I like the fact that it's platinum instead
Right.
of gold, but yeah, that'd be pretty neat if we could do that. My ring that I wear is titanium, actually, which only has 22 protons. But again, how on earth would I ever add 57 protons to every atom in that ring to turn it into gold? There's just no way on earth that is happening. And that's the crux of my story this week. There is no way on earth that is happening.
No, what?
Oh.
It's
We're
happening
going to space.
outside. Ooh, to space. Oh gosh.
Yeah, going all the way to space.
Two
We do
space
have a
stories this
word
week.
for adding. I know we have a word for adding more protons to an element. We call it fusion, right?
Yes, we do.
There have been a few breakthroughs on fusion reactors here on Earth in the last month, which is cool. Which is not what I'm going to talk about, but in general, this isn't something that happens naturally here on Earth. You need something like the sun to be big enough to fuse atoms together. And there's a problem, though, when it comes to gold. And so I want to talk about our sun for a minute. The sun is massive. It runs on hydrogen.
Huge.
Hydrogen is the lightest element. It only has an atomic mass of 1. That's why it's the first thing on the periodic table. It just has 1 proton. So what the sun does is it fuses 2 of those together, and you end up with helium, which has 2 protons.
Yes, you do.
Toward the end of exactly, which is fun to play with. Toward the end of the sun's life, though, it will burn through all of the hydrogen. It's then going to burn through all the helium. When I say burn, I mean it's going to fuse it. It's going to fuse the helium into carbon. The carbon will be fused into oxygen. Oxygen can actually be fused with helium to make neon, and so on and so on. These reactions make magnesium with 12 protons, silicon with 14, and then finally iron with 26. Although some massive red giant stars even have the ability to make nickel, to fuse stuff into nickel, which has 28 protons. But that's it. That's where the fusing stops in a star, which presents us with a puzzle the atomic weight of nickel is 28, and the periodic table goes way further. Current count has it all the way up to 118. And remember, gold has 79. And not even a super massive red giant star has enough power to cause elements to fuse into gold. So what we need is a supernova.
Oh.
So, yeah. So those really big stars, if you have at least a solar mass of like 15, I believe, so like 15 times the size of our sun, they will eventually end their life in a gigantic explosion called a supernova. And we talked about those a little bit on the show before.
Yeah.
The explosive forces involved are mind-breaking and enormous. Elements don't really fuse into gold in the explosion. It's kind of made a different way. I mean, you could kind of think in a fusion, but I think a fusion is like two elements coming together, and that's not really what's going on here. So just remember, just before the star's life ends, the core has all fused into either like iron or nickel, right?
Right.
When the star goes supernova, and believe me, I am simplifying here.
Oh, 100%.
but,
You have to.
Right. But in this explosion, an enormous amount of neutrons are just released as like free neutrons. Okay. And the iron at the core is bombarded with so many that these free neutrons and all these protons and stuff are basically crammed right on into the iron, and new elements above iron in the periodic table, not just gold, but all these elements are formed in the heart of an exploding star by having everything just be shoved together at enormous pressure. It's, again, gross simplification, but that's basically what's going on.
Cool.
So, like I said, it's not just gold. So that aluminum foil in your drawer in your kitchen, exploding star. The tungsten in your old-fashioned incandescent light bulb filament, exploding star. The neodymium in the rare earth magnet that holds your purse closed, exploding star. And the thing is, it isn't just the heavier elements, though, because I was talking about what fused together in the lighter elements that fuse together, hydrogen into helium into like oxygen, and it kind of ramps up pretty quickly up to iron, and there's stuff missing in between there. So lighter elements than iron are also created in a supernova. The very calcium in your bones and the carbon in your DNA was created in a supernova. There is no other process that can create those elements.
Wow.
So those elements blown out of multiple supernovas eventually coalesced into planets, and the raw elements of life became you and me. So I started talking about gold, and it's true. All the gold in the world started out in an exploding star, which is pretty cool. If you have like a gold ring on, you can go, oh, cool, that started out in an exploding star. But keep in mind, so did your finger.
Yeah.
And you're like, and literally everything you can see right now, the elements that make it up were once inside of an exploding star, which is, I think, one of the coolest, strangest nature facts out there.
Absolutely.
I'm glad I could,
amazing.
save it for episode 99. I mean, everything is from stars, and
We're all just
specifically
star
from
stuff.
supernovas. There you go. Yeah, Carl Sagan talked about this, obviously, and used that famous quote that Rachel said about we're all just, basically made out of star stuff, which is, get away with words. So
Yes.
that's all I got this week, star stuff, and thinking about where everything, including gold, comes from.
Thanks, Carl.
So if you want to be an
Kirk.
Yeah, if you want, I'll say if you want to be an alchemist, just go out there and start blowing some stars up.
I feel like
a
there
good
are
plan.
other
We're gonna go to a
issues with
break.
that.
Yeah, I mean, don't do it here on Earth. We're gonna go to break, and when we come back, it'll be Rachel.
Mm-hmm. So, episode 99. This episode, I'm really excited for this particular topic. This comes at the request of one of our patrons and one of my best friends, whose birthday happens to be when this episode comes out. So
amazing. I better not get it up late then. So
I think you'll be fine. So happy birthday, Amanda, you absolute weirdo.
happy birthday, Amanda.
Happy birthday, Amanda.
All right.
Thank you for being part of the Society of Strange with us.
Yay. So there's a variety of dangerous careers, not creatures, careers out
Careers.
there.
Okay.
What are
Yes.
some that come to mind for you both?
Supernova alchemist.
Right. Of course.
That's top of the list right there. Yeah.
Most dangerous.
Logger.
Okay.
I mean, I always used to had heard that actually being in theater was actually a dangerous profession. No joke, because you don't think about the fact that you're on sets, some of which are not necessarily, they're temporary. You have thousands of pounds of stage rigging over your head.
Yeah.
People used to die in all kinds of fires, lights dropping on your heads. Not classically thought of a dangerous profession, but
Yeah.
it can be.
Yeah.
Volcanologist
I would
is a
think-
fairly dangerous profession.
Yeah.
Coal
Absolutely.
miner.
Coal miner.
Coal miner. Definitely.
One that is generally in my headspace, which, by the way, I am wearing a very appropriate shirt for this, is deep sea diving as a career.
Yeah.
Sure.
Be it for like deep sea welding, for people out on oil rigs, or doing
oil
research
rigs, yeah.
for science. I just listened to an episode of Ologies, and they did. Allie was talking with a marine archaeologist, which is insane. Like they study shipwrecks and things, which is crazy.
Cool. Very cool.
So cool. But there's so many things that can go wrong when you're underneath the water like that. Especially for long periods of
Rachel,
time.
you know what Captain Ron says?
What does Captain Ron say?
If anything's going to happen, it's going to happen out there.
Oh yeah. So one
That's
thing
for you, Brett. That's for you.
So one thing that goes wrong, one thing that can go wrong is if you surface too quickly, is getting the bends, which is decompression sickness, which is really bad. If you have any sort of equipment malfunctions or anything that can go wrong down there is not great.
Not good.
And if you're a deep
also,
sea
if you
welder,
then go up, a really high mountain right after diving, also it's not good for you, I hear.
yeah.
See, now only the
absolutely.
patrons are going to hear that bonus material where I tell the story of the day I dove and went to the top mountain at the same time. Become a patron. You can hear what the inside joke that Victoria is talking about. Not my proudest day. Okay.
No, it's definitely not. But one thing that oil rig workers will actually do, or if you are a deep sea diver or welder, they have like little homes that they have way down deep underneath the water, and you just stay there for like a week or two. So that way you don't have to, because after a certain depth, it takes like 8 hours, and the decompression will stay the same. Like the amount of decompression time that you have to do stays the same after a certain depth.
Yeah. So once you're down, you might as well stay down for a while.
Exactly. So like that would be anything that goes wrong in that little home or anything could be really bad. But one thing that doesn't tend to get discussed is some of the critters you might encounter while you're underneath the water. So.
Okay.
Wait, are these folks
This
living
is
in
going
a
all
pineapple?
over the place.
Under the
Are
sea?
these folks living in a pineapple under the sea?
Who lives in a pineapple under the sea?
No, these ones are not.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's dive in.
Oh, jeez.
So
yeah.
Bob Cranston was a wildlife photographer. He was diving. This happened maybe about 10 years ago or so. He was diving with two other experienced divers in the Sea of Cortez, which is by Baja, California in the Pacific Ocean, kind of the eastern side,
Okay.
to film the feeding behavior of some squid at night. Fun research. It should be really cool. Overall, it was a success, and they got some really good shots. Bob and one of the other divers surface, and they realize that their third diver is missing.
Uh-oh.
At night, you say?
At
good.
night, even better, right? Totally easy to find.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I don't like this, Rachel.
Oh, good. It's not going to get better. Hold on.
Oh, great.
So after a little while, that third diver, Alex, he does surface, but boy, howdy, does he have a story.
Okay. At least he can tell a story.
Yeah, that is very true. So they're filming these squid and feeding and their habits and things and the behavior. So one singular squid came over and started kind of nibbling on one of his fins, and he reacted very much how I would react, which is, oh, well, that's cool, and just kind of watched.
Oh, neat.
Right?
Yeah.
Super neat. Well, soon after that, as you know, these squid feed in large groups, 5 or 6 more squid latch on to Alex and start dragging him down.
Oh no! When squids attack,
they're like,
Yeah.
hey, we found a whale carcass.
It was like,
Everybody
ooh,
on.
delicious. So one actually even wrapped its tentacles around his head and neck. So it's not good.
Nope. Mm-mm.
They dragged him down probably about I think it was like 50 or so feet. It wasn't like super far, but he definitely noticed that they were starting to drag him down. And eventually Alex was did his survival instincts kicked in, and he was able to fight off the squid by like punching and kicking and getting out of there, and the squid did release him. And he was able to surface.
Yikes.
And he was able to tell the story. Like, he was hurt. And he actually apparently has scars from this attack. So, yeah. So this particular squid has another name of red devil. When they're attacking or feeding, they actually are able to flash red. They have the chromatophores, which we've talked about before in this podcast.
Cool. Yeah.
They flash like a deep, like blood red, and they flash between that and white. There's a couple different.
That's not intimidating at all.
No, that's not terrifying at all. So
Hail Hydra.
the red devil, as it's known, is also called the Humboldt squid. Or the jumbo squid as well. They're actually very common in the fishing industry and like calamari and things like that. They're fished quite a bit. They are the largest flying squid in the world. A few weeks ago, about Halloween.
I'm sorry. Flying
squid?
Flying squid?
Yes, flying. It's a type of squid. It doesn't fly through the air. It flies through the water. It has these
I thought we'd
specialized
missed
fins.
part of the story here.
No, no.
Victoria's talked about flying snakes, flying spiders. So I just wanted to clarify. Okay.
Nope, it flies through the water. It also has some specialized fins on its mantle that look like wings.
Yeah.
So that's why they're
I've
part
seen
of a
something
group.
like that.
Yeah. I actually literally had a note on here that said, no, it does not fly through the air. So.
Perfect.
They are the largest flying squid. They are not the largest squid in the world. I talked about that in our Halloween episode. But they are the third largest squid.
Oh my, okay.
Wow.
This squid lives in the eastern Pacific Ocean from the tip of Chile all the way to Alaska. In the open ocean, anywhere
quite a
from
range.
Their range is actually expanded. They used to not actually be found in that whatever range, but climate change.
Yep.
They're found. Yeah, they're found anywhere from about 660 feet to 2,300 feet down. So when they were when Alex and Bob Cranston were diving, they were pretty deep down to be able to get video and film of these squid. So
right.
This squid gets to be about 5 feet long, so about 1.5 meters. And that's just the mantle size. So that's about about 65-70% of the squid. So that's anywhere from the beak all the way to the tip of what we would call like the head of the squid. So it's about 1.5 meters or about 5 feet long. The tentacles
About a Rachel.
make it. It's more than a Rachel if you include the tentacles.
Sure.
And they are about 110 pounds each.
Oh, that's a lot of squid.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they're all wrapping around him. That would just be terrifying.
Absolutely awful.
That's a hard no from me.
Well,
I'm gonna pass on that experience.
This particular occurrence isn't abnormal when it comes to Humboldt squid. They actually have been they've been observed and they have shown aggression generally during like feeding time, or feeding behaviors are being displayed is when they'll attack humans. But there's a lot of really horrible like stories about Humboldt squid coming in from nowhere and then either dragging divers down, dragging the deep sea welders on oil rigs out in the middle of the ocean down, or like maybe you see some little ones and then they all disappear and you're like, what is that? What's going on? I'm probably fine. And then you turn around and it's a big, a much bigger one that's flashing at you. It's not good.
Gosh.
This is also astounding because they're actually a relatively short-lived species. A lot of animals, when they get to be this type of or this size, they tend to be a little longer lived. And it actually, Humboldt squid only live for a year or two. So they grow to their maximum size, lay about 3 million eggs when they spawn, and and then die. So
yeah, a lot of cephalopods tend to be pretty short-lived.
Mm-hmm.
More than you would think.
Oh, exactly. So they use those specialized fins at their mantle, or they're also known as wings, to actually help siphon water through a special port, and they're able to jet through and propel themselves through water at about 15 miles an hour through the water, which is pretty quick for a squid.
Yeah.
And it's faster than I can swim.
That is absolutely faster than I can swim.
It's faster than I can sink.
And then they have arms, and then they have tentacles. They only have 2 tentacles, but the rest are arms. But each of those 2 tentacles, which were wrapped around, each of them have about 100 to 200 suckers. And each of those suckers are actually lined with sharp, and I put quotations over it, teeth that are specialized to hook in to prey to help drag it to their beak or their mouth.
Or unwary scuba divers.
Yeah, exactly. So this equates the math. I watched an Animal Planet video about this particular attack. They equated it to about 72,000 teeth. Just latched in.
That's a lot of teeth.
Yeah. Obviously.
Toothsome. Yeah.
Obviously, Alex was okay. But this is actually an ongoing. This is an ongoing problem where people aren't necessarily paying attention to the things around them or the behaviors of the animals. But Humboldt squid are also just that aggressive, which is crazy. That's what I have for us this week. Happy birthday, Amanda.
Thank
you
you,
weirdo.
Rachel.
Thanks.
That's well, maybe next time you see Amanda, you guys can go for a swim and
We'll dive.
hopefully there'll be no Humboldt squid.
I hope they shouldn't. It'll be. I'm not going in the Pacific Ocean anytime soon, so we're good.
All right.
All right. Well,
Lake Superior it is. All right.
Woohoo! All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening, and we will see you next week for episode 100.
Episode
100.
100.
Woo. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks everyone for listening to today's show. Be sure to subscribe. New episodes drop every Wednesday, and we love sharing this strange world with all of our listeners. If you would be so kind as to leave us a 5-star review, that would be great. It lets other lovers of the strange discover the show. You can reach out to us on social media by searching for Strange by Nature Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can send us an email as well. Our address is contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com. If you want more information about the show, you can also check out our website, which is strangebynaturepodcast.com. Until next week, get outside, stay curious, and embrace the strange.